Have you ever stopped to truly consider what it means to live a deeply fulfilling life as the years go by? There's something profoundly transformative about stepping into your 70s, an age that isn't just a number, but a gateway to new beginnings. In this journey, I discovered the power of releasing the things that no longer served me, the things that had weighed me down for decades without me even realizing it. And in letting go, I uncovered something extraordinary: peace, joy, and a renewed sense of purpose. Crossing into this new chapter wasn't just about aging, it was about rediscovering what it means to truly live. I realized that for so long I had been holding on to beliefs, habits, and expectations that had shaped my life but were no longer necessary. These invisible chains kept me from embracing the freedom and contentment that I had always longed for. And when I finally started loosening my grip, I found something unexpected: space. Space to breathe, to love, to be present, and to embrace life with open arms. It wasn't easy. I had spent decades believing that my worth was tied to things that, in the grand scheme of life, didn't matter. But as I stepped into this new season, I knew I had a choice: to continue carrying this unnecessary weight or to set it down and walk forward lighter, freer. I chose the latter, and the transformation was nothing short of miraculous. My heart felt unburdened, my days brighter, my purpose clearer than ever before. Letting go wasn't about giving up. It wasn't about surrendering to age or resigning myself to the idea that my best years were behind me. No, it was about shedding the unnecessary, about making space for the things that truly mattered. It was about stepping into my own truth, unshackled by outdated beliefs or the fear of judgment. I learned that true freedom begins when we stop clinging to the past and open ourselves to the infinite possibilities that lie ahead. For me, reaching 70 wasn't the end of anything. It was a beginning, a chance to embrace my life as it is, not as I thought it should be. A time to honor my journey and to finally prioritize what brings me peace, fulfillment, and joy. I discovered that life is far too precious to be spent worrying about things that drain my energy or steal my happiness. And so I let go. And in return, I found a life that feels more meaningful, more authentic, and more deeply satisfying than I ever imagined. One of the first things I released was the need to always be busy. In my younger years, I was caught in a relentless cycle of doing, constantly moving, working, striving. I believed that if I wasn't busy, I wasn't valuable, that if I wasn't chasing something, I was falling behind. But what I didn't realize was that in all that busyness, I was missing out on the very essence of life. The quiet moments, the stillness, the simple joys that make life rich and meaningful. I spent decades juggling responsibilities, measuring my worth by how much I could accomplish in a day. But as I entered this new phase, I began asking myself a different question. Why? Why was I working myself to exhaustion? Why was I filling my time with obligations that didn't bring me joy? And what would happen if I simply stopped? At first it felt uncomfortable, almost unsettling. I was so used to being in motion that slowing down felt unnatural, but as I allowed myself to embrace stillness, I discovered something beautiful. I began to truly see the world around me. I noticed the way the morning sunlight spilled through my window. I savored the quiet moments of sipping tea and watching the world wake up. I reconnected with my passions, the things that had always brought me joy but had been pushed aside in the name of productivity. Letting go of the need to be constantly busy didn't mean I stopped living. It meant I started living more intentionally. Now I only engage in activities that truly bring me fulfillment. I work on projects that excite me. I spend time with people who uplift me. I wake up each morning with a sense of purpose, not pressure. And most importantly, I have learned to value rest, reflection, and simply being present in the moment. It's a shift that has changed everything. I no longer feel the relentless pull to prove myself through action. I no longer define my worth by my productivity. Instead, I measure my life by the depth of my experiences, the quality of my relationships, and the peace I feel at the end of each day. And that, I've come to realize, is the true measure of a life well lived. Another thing I let go of was the habit of mindless spending. For so many years, I was caught in the endless cycle of accumulating, buying things that promised happiness, filling my home with objects that I thought would bring me joy. But the truth is, none of it ever truly satisfied me. The thrill of a new purchase was always temporary, and before long, I found myself longing for the next thing, and then the next. It wasn't until I took a step back and really examined my habits that I realized what I had been doing. I wasn't buying things because I needed them. I was buying them because I was searching for something deeper. Maybe it was a sense of fulfillment. Maybe it was a way to fill an emotional void. But no matter how much I bought, that void remained. So I made a change. I stopped spending mindlessly. I started asking myself, does this truly add value to my life? If the answer was no, I walked away. Instead of accumulating things, I began accumulating experiences. I invested in moments rather than objects, and in doing so, I found a deeper, more lasting sense of fulfillment than I ever had from any material possession. Life is so much lighter when we let go of the need to consume. When we focus on what truly matters, relationships, experiences, inner peace, we realize that we already have everything we need. Letting go of mindless spending wasn't just about saving money. It was about shifting my perspective, about understanding that true wealth isn't found in what we own, but in how we live. And then there was the habit of stressing over the small things. Oh, how much time I wasted worrying about things that in the end didn't matter. I used to let the tiniest inconveniences ruin my day. A traffic jam, a misplaced item, a minor disagreement. I allowed these small frustrations to steal my peace. But with time, I began to see things differently. Now, whenever I feel stress creeping in, I ask myself a simple question. Will this matter a year from now? More often than not, the answer is no. And just like that, the stress loses its power over me. I've learned that life is too short to be spent sweating the small stuff. There will always be inconveniences, unexpected challenges, and little annoyances. But we get to choose how we respond to them. We can let them consume us, or we can let them go. And I choose peace. Imagine how different life could be if we stopped worrying about the things beyond our control. How much lighter would we feel if we let go of those insignificant stresses? The freedom that comes with releasing these burdens is truly life-changing. The more I let go, the more I realize that peace isn't found in a life free of problems. It's found in how we respond to them. And that is a lesson that has changed my life in ways I never imagined. Prioritizing self-care over constantly pleasing others was another pivotal shift in my life. For decades, I carried the unspoken burden of always putting others first. Whether it was my family, friends, or colleagues, their needs always seemed more important than mine. I wore my selflessness like a badge of honor, believing that giving my all to everyone else made me a good person. But as the years passed, I started to notice something. I was exhausted. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. I had given so much of myself away that I hardly recognized the person in the mirror. My energy was depleted, my well-being neglected, and deep down, I felt a quiet resentment growing. Not because I didn't love the people in my life, but because I had forgotten to love myself in the process. And then, when I reached 70, something clicked. I had spent my whole life making sure others were happy, but what about me? When was the last time I truly prioritized my own joy, my own peace? That realization was both painful and freeing. It forced me to confront the truth. I couldn't keep pouring from an empty cup. I couldn't be my best self for others if I was constantly running on fumes. So I made a radical decision. I started putting myself first. Not in a selfish way, but in a way that acknowledged my own needs as valid, as important, as worthy of attention. I began setting boundaries, something I had always struggled with. If something drained me, I gave myself permission to step away. I started saying no to things that didn't align with my well-being, without guilt, without apology. I carved out time for myself, time to rest, time to reflect, time to simply exist without feeling the need to do something for someone else. I rediscovered the joy of solitude, of quiet mornings spent in meditation, of long walks with no agenda other than to breathe deeply and appreciate the world around me. And you know what happened? Instead of feeling guilty, I felt liberated. Instead of feeling drained, I felt renewed. Prioritizing self-care didn't mean I loved others any less. It meant I was finally loving myself just as much. And by doing so, I found that I had even more to give. More patience, more kindness, more presence. Because I was no longer giving from a place of exhaustion, but from a place of abundance. If there's one thing I wish I had learned sooner, it's this. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's essential. When you nurture your own well-being, you become a better version of yourself, for you and for those you love. And there is no greater gift than that. Another thing I had to let go of was the habit of overcommitting. For most of my life, I was the person who said yes to everything. Need help with an event? I'll be there. Need someone to take on an extra task? I've got it. Need a favor at the last minute? Sure, why not? I hated the thought of disappointing anyone, so I filled my schedule to the brim, constantly juggling commitments, constantly running from one obligation to the next. But the truth, I was exhausted. My days were so packed that I barely had time to breathe, let alone enjoy the things that truly mattered. I had no time for myself, no time for rest, no time to simply be. And as I got older, I started to feel the weight of it all. The constant pressure, the overwhelming fatigue, the quiet resentment of always putting everyone else's needs before my own. Then one day I asked myself, why? Why was I saying yes to everything? Was it because I truly wanted to? Or was it because I was afraid of what people would think if I said no? The answer was painfully clear. I had been saying yes out of obligation, not desire, and it was costing me my peace. So I made a change. I started being selective about what I committed to. Before saying yes, I asked myself a simple question. Does this align with my values? Does this bring me joy? If the answer was no, I gave myself permission to say no, without guilt, without explanation. And let me tell you, it was one of the most empowering things I have ever done. Saying no didn't make me a bad person. It didn't make me unreliable. It made me mindful. It allowed me to protect my time, my energy, and my well-being. It created space in my life for the things that truly mattered. Spending time with loved ones, engaging in activities that brought me fulfillment, embracing the quiet moments that I had been too busy to enjoy before. If you've ever struggled with saying no, I encourage you to ask yourself, what are you saying yes to that is draining you? What commitments have you taken on out of obligation rather than joy? And what would happen if you started protecting your time and energy the way you protect the things you value most? Because here's the truth. Your time is precious. Your energy is valuable. And you deserve to spend them on things that truly matter to you. One of the hardest, yet most necessary things I let go of was unhealthy relationships. Relationships shape our lives, influencing how we see ourselves and the world around us. But not all relationships are meant to last forever. Some people uplift us, inspire us, bring joy into our lives, and others, they drain us. They weigh us down with negativity, disrespect, and emotional exhaustion. For years, I held on to relationships that I knew weren't good for me. Friends who only called when they needed something. Family members who never respected my boundaries. People who brought drama and toxicity into my life, but never peace. And yet, I kept these relationships alive, out of obligation, out of guilt, out of fear of being alone. But when I turned 70, something shifted. I realized that my time was too precious to spend on people who didn't truly care for me. I deserved relationships that felt good, that were built on mutual respect and genuine love. And if a connection brought more pain than joy, it wasn't one I needed to hold on to anymore. Letting go wasn't easy. It hurt. It felt like closing a chapter of my life that I had held on to for far too long. But in doing so, I created space for relationships that truly mattered. I surrounded myself with people who uplifted me, who respected my boundaries, who brought kindness and positivity into my world. And the peace that came from that decision, it was priceless. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You are not obligated to keep people in your life simply because of history. If a relationship doesn't serve you, if it drains you more than it fulfills you, it's okay to walk away. In doing so, you make room for the kind of love, friendship, and connection that truly nurtures your soul. Another major shift for me was finally putting my health first. For years, I put everything and everyone else ahead of my own well-being. Work, responsibilities, obligations. I always told myself that my health could wait. that there would be time to focus on it later. But as I got older, I realized something. Later isn't guaranteed. Neglecting my health wasn't just affecting me, it was affecting my ability to fully experience life. I didn't want to spend my later years feeling weak, sluggish, or constantly unwell. I wanted to feel strong. I wanted to wake up with energy, to move freely, to savor every moment without being held back by poor health. So I made changes. Small, intentional ones. I started walking more, not as a chore, but as a way to reconnect with my body and the world around me. I paid attention to what I ate, choosing foods that nourished me rather than drained me. I prioritized rest, understanding that my body needed it to heal and function at its best. And perhaps most importantly, I made peace with my body. I stopped criticizing it, stopped wishing it looked different, stopped being at war with it. Instead, I chose to honor it, to care for it, to appreciate all that it had carried me through over the years. Taking care of myself became a form of gratitude, a way of saying, I value this life and I want to make the most of it. And that shift, more than anything, has given me the strength and vitality to live each day with intention and joy. If you've been putting your health on the back burner, ask yourself, what small step can you take today to prioritize your well-being? Because every small step adds up, and before you know it, you'll be feeling stronger, more energized, and more alive than ever before. One of the biggest regrets people have later in life is putting off their personal goals, always waiting for the right time to start. I used to do that too. I had dreams, ambitions, things I wanted to accomplish just for myself. But life has a way of keeping us busy, doesn't it? There was always something else demanding my attention. Family, work, responsibilities. I kept telling myself, I'll get to it later. But later kept getting pushed further and further away. And then I turned 70 and something hit me like a lightning bolt. Later isn't guaranteed. Time doesn't wait for us to be ready. And if we keep putting off the things that matter to us, we risk never doing them at all. That realization was a wake-up call. I didn't want to reach the end of my life and wonder, what if? What if I had taken that leap? What if I had pursued that passion? What if I had just started? So I stopped waiting. I stopped making excuses. I stopped believing that I needed to have everything perfectly planned before I could begin. I just started. I picked up the hobbies I had abandoned years ago. I dusted off old dreams that I had long buried under responsibilities. I challenged myself to try new things, to step outside of my comfort zone, to embrace learning and growth, even at this stage of life. And let me tell you, there is nothing more exhilarating than finally giving yourself permission to go after what you truly want. I felt a sense of excitement I hadn't felt in years. Each day became a new opportunity, a new chance to do something meaningful. I wasn't just existing anymore, I was living. The lesson I learned is this: you are never too old, and it is never too late. If there's something you've been longing to do, do it. Start today, right where you are, with whatever you have. Take that first step, no matter how small. Because one day you'll look back, and you'll either be grateful that you started, or regret that you didn't. Another thing I had to learn to embrace instead of fear was change. For most of my life, I resisted it. I liked the comfort of familiarity. I liked knowing what to expect. But the truth is, change happens whether we welcome it or not. Life moves forward, seasons shift, people come and go, circumstances evolve. And fighting against that only creates stress, frustration, and unnecessary suffering. So when I reached this stage in life, I made a choice. Instead of fearing change, I would welcome it. Instead of resisting the unknown, I would lean into it with curiosity. And that choice transformed everything. I started to see change not as an ending, but as an invitation to grow, to discover, to experience life in new and unexpected ways. I embraced the idea that every shift, even the difficult ones, had something to teach me. I let go of the fear that had kept me stuck, and instead I opened my heart to possibilities I had never even considered before. And you know what happened? Life became exciting again. Instead of clinging to the past, I started looking forward to the future. Instead of longing for things to stay the same, I started embracing the beauty of evolution. Change wasn't something to be afraid of anymore. It was something to be embraced. Because here's the truth, when we resist change, we resist growth. We miss out on the experiences that could shape us, the opportunities that could enrich us, the moments that could bring us unexpected joy. But when we surrender to it, when we trust that life is unfolding exactly as it's meant to, we open ourselves to a whole new world of possibilities. So I ask you this, what change have you been resisting? What if, instead of fearing it, you leaned into it? What if, instead of seeing it as an ending, you saw it as a beginning? How might your life expand if you stopped holding on so tightly to what was and embraced what could be? Another thing that has changed my life in ways I never expected is prioritizing sleep. For years, I treated sleep like an afterthought, something that could always be sacrificed for something more important. I stayed up late working, worrying, overthinking. I told myself I could function on just a few hours if I needed to. And for a while I did. But as I got older, I started to feel the effects of years of neglecting my rest. My energy levels dropped, my mood suffered. My body felt heavier, slower, more drained. I realized that by sacrificing sleep, I wasn't gaining more time. I was losing the ability to fully enjoy the time I had. So I made a change. I started treating sleep as the foundation of my well-being, not just an afterthought. I established a nighttime routine that helped me wind down, turning off screens, reading a book, listening to calming music. I stopped pushing myself to stay up late for things that weren't truly necessary. And most importantly, I stopped feeling guilty about prioritizing rest. And the difference? Incredible. I wake up feeling refreshed, clear-headed, and ready to fully embrace the day. I have more energy, more patience, more enthusiasm for life. My mind feels sharper, my body feels stronger, and my overall sense of well-being has never been better. Sleep isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It's the time when our bodies heal, our minds reset, and our souls recharge. And the best part? It's something we all have the power to prioritize, starting tonight. So if you've been running on empty, if you've been putting everything else ahead of your own rest, ask yourself, what would happen if you started treating sleep as a priority instead of an inconvenience? How much better might you feel? How much more present, alive, and engaged could you be? One of the most freeing decisions I ever made was letting go of comparisons. For so much of my life, I measured myself against others, comparing my accomplishments, my appearance, my life choices. I looked at people who seemed more successful, more attractive, more adventurous, and I wondered if I was doing enough, if I was enough. And you know what I discovered? Comparison is a thief. It steals our joy, our contentment, our ability to appreciate our own journey. No matter how much we achieve, if we are constantly looking sideways, we will always feel like we're falling short. When I reached 70, I made a conscious decision to stop. To stop looking at what others were doing, and to start fully embracing my own path, to stop longing for what I didn't have, and to start appreciating what I did. And that shift changed everything. Instead of feeling inadequate, I felt grateful. Instead of chasing someone else's definition of success, I defined my own. I let go of the need to measure up, and in doing so, I found a deep, unshakable sense of peace. Because here's the truth, your life is yours, your journey is yours. There is no one else you need to impress, no one else you need to compete with. The only person you should ever compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. As long as you are growing, learning, evolving. That's all that matters. So if you've been caught in the cycle of comparison, I invite you to let it go. To step back and truly appreciate the unique, beautiful life that you have. Because when you stop looking at what everyone else is doing, you finally have the space to fully embrace your own journey. And in the end, that is what life is really about. Not keeping up, not proving yourself, but simply living in a way that feels true to who you are. And when you do that, you will find a kind of joy, a kind of peace that no amount of comparison could ever give you. Living with intention after 70 has been the most liberating experience of my life. Letting go of these old habits, beliefs, and expectations didn't just lighten my load, it allowed me to fully step into who I was always meant to be. For decades, I lived according to what was expected of me, following paths that seemed right at the time, but in reality led me further away from my true self. But now, Now I live on my own terms, choosing what brings me joy, what nurtures my soul, and what adds meaning to my days. I used to think that aging meant slowing down, that as the years passed, life naturally became smaller, quieter, less fulfilling. But I've learned that the opposite is true. Life after 70 isn't about fading into the background, it's about stepping forward with greater clarity and purpose than ever before. It's about deciding, with intention, how you want to spend your time, your energy, and your attention. It's about removing the distractions, the unnecessary obligations, the things that drain you, and making room for what truly matters. And what truly matters, it's different for everyone. For me, it's deep conversations with loved ones, the feeling of sunshine on my face during a morning walk, the satisfaction of creating something with my own hands. It's laughter, connection, peace. It's knowing that each day I get to choose how I show up in the world, not out of obligation, but out of love for the life I've built. So I ask you, what truly matters to you? If you stripped away all the noise, all the expectations, all the things you've been told you should do, what would be left? What would bring you real, deep joy? If you've never taken the time to ask yourself that question, now is the perfect time. Because it's never too late to live with intention. Aging often comes with a narrative of loss, losing youth, losing opportunities, losing time, but what if instead of seeing it as a loss, we saw it as an opportunity? An opportunity to become even more of who we truly are. To release what no longer serves us. To embrace life fully, without hesitation or fear. That shift in perspective changes everything. Instead of clinging to the past, we can celebrate the wisdom we've gained. Instead of mourning what was, we can embrace what is, and what's still to come. Because no matter how many years we've lived, there is always more to experience, more to learn, more to appreciate. Think about it. How would your life change if you started viewing each day as a gift? If instead of dwelling on what's behind you, you focused on the possibilities ahead? If instead of resisting the changes that come with age, you embrace them as part of your evolution? One of the greatest joys of this stage in life is the freedom to shape it however you choose. You no longer have to conform to societal expectations or live according to anyone else's rules. You have the wisdom, the perspective, and the experience to decide. This is what I want my life to look like. So what does that look like for you? Maybe it's slowing down and savoring the little moments you once rushed past. Maybe it's finally pursuing a passion you put on hold for years. Maybe it's traveling, learning, creating, or simply finding peace in the quiet rhythms of everyday life. Whatever it is, embrace it fully. Own it. Live it. Because the greatest regret isn't growing older, it's growing older without ever truly living. And when you start living with intention, something incredible happens. You begin to inspire others, not by telling them what to do, but by simply being an example of what's possible. When people see you prioritizing your well-being, choosing joy, embracing change, they start to wonder if they can do the same. And the answer is always yes, because it's never too late. It's never too late to break free from old patterns, to choose happiness, to live with purpose. It's never too late to wake up in the morning with excitement instead of dread. It's never too late to start again. And if there's one thing I've learned on this journey, it's this. We don't find fulfillment by accident. We create it, choice by choice, moment by moment. It's in the way we spend our days, the people we surround ourselves with, the thoughts we entertain, the love we give and receive. So ask yourself, what kind of life do you want to create? And what's stopping you from creating it right now? For me, building a legacy of joy and peace has become my greatest priority. Not a legacy of achievements or material possessions, but a legacy of kindness, of presence, of love. I want to be remembered not for what I owned, but for how I made people feel. Not for how busy I was, but for how deeply I lived. Because at the end of the day, it's not the titles or the possessions or the accomplishments that define us. It's the impact we have, the memories we create, the love we share. And that is why living with intention is so important, because every choice we make shapes not only our own lives, but the lives of those around us. Every moment we spend in presence, in gratitude, in kindness, leaves an imprint. So if you're wondering where to start, start there. Start with presence. Start with gratitude. Start by asking yourself, what kind of impact do I want to have? How do I want to be remembered? And then start living that way, today, tomorrow, and every day after that. Another thing I've realized is the importance of staying connected. As we age, it's easy to retreat, to let relationships fade, to feel like we don't belong in the world as much as we once did. But connection is vital. It's what keeps us alive, what keeps us engaged, what reminds us that we are never truly alone. I've made a conscious effort to nurture my relationships, to reach out, to show up, to make time for the people who matter. Whether it's through phone calls, shared meals, or even online communities, I make sure to stay connected, because I know that life is richer when it's shared. So, my message to you is this: don't hold back. Say the words you need to say. Show appreciation, express gratitude, cherish the people in your life. Love as much as you can, as deeply as you can, as often as you can. Because that is what makes life truly beautiful. And as I continue forward, I do so with a heart full of gratitude. For the lessons, for the experiences, for the people who have walked this journey with me. I have let go of so much: fear, doubt, pressure, expectations. But what I have gained is immeasurable. A sense of peace that comes from living authentically, a joy that comes from being fully present, a deep, unwavering gratitude for the life I have, exactly as it is. And that, I believe, is the greatest gift of all. So as you move forward in your own journey, I encourage you to ask yourself, what do you need to let go of? What is holding you back from living fully? What small shift can you make today to embrace life with more intention, more presence, more love? Because no matter where you are, no matter your age, no matter your past, the best is still ahead of you. You just have to be willing to claim it. And I hope, with all my heart, that you do. Life is a journey of constant growth, transformation, and rediscovery. Letting go of what no longer serves us isn't about loss. It's about making space for what truly matters. It's about choosing peace over pressure, joy over obligation, and presence over distraction. It's about embracing who we are now, not who we used to be, and stepping forward with a heart open to new possibilities. Aging isn't about slowing down. It's about living with greater clarity, wisdom, and purpose. It's about recognizing that every moment is a gift, that every day holds an opportunity to choose what brings us fulfillment. The best years aren't behind us. They're the ones we choose to live fully, right here and now. So as you move forward, ask yourself, what is worth holding on to, and what is finally time to release? What kind of life do you want to create? And how can you start living it today? Because no matter where you are on your journey, no matter what has come before, the truth remains the same. You are never too old, and it is never too late to live the life you were meant to live. The best is still ahead, waiting for you to embrace it.